Okay, let's. Maseches Bava Kama. Daf Pei Beis Amud Beis. Pei Beis Amud Beis. Right? We're in the middle of Bava Kama Pei Beis Amud Beis. Art Scroll people. Yeah, you have a new volume. Okay, we are recording now. We're recording now. Thank you. The Beis Amud Beis, the top of the page. This shows Lulu Nishmas of Imur Menachem Ben Akiva. Bas Shalom Sobas Moshe. Yitzchak Meir Ben Frida. Okay. And Lofuas, Doch Leonel Ben Yulia, בסוף שחול ישראל. Says the Gemara, the Shiur Roichlin Mechazrin Bayorois. The Roichlin are peddlers, and they have to walk around towns, many different cities. They can walk. Yeah. The Roichlin, the people should go from town to town, Mechazrin Bayorois. Certain peddlers can walk into any town they feel like, and the people of town the local merchants don't have the right for monopoly over the merchandise. In other words, this is basically, Ezra said, that there's one area in the commerce world, one type of product, you can break the laws of halacha. In other words, if somebody wants to sell, I don't know, cheese, onion, you can't sell anything if you enter someone else's domain, because the local merchants, they have the right of way. Who are you to come from out of town to sell products in my town where I have a certain monopoly? That's my parnasa. Paskas lachiyus, you take away my life. So there's one area which is so important that it should be available for everybody. What is this area? Is it Sefer Torah, mezuzos, tefillin? What is it? Mishum tachshite noshim. Tachshite noshim, women's jewelry. The modern Hebrew tachshitim are jewelry, and also in the Torah. Tachshite may also mean makeup. It appears in Ilchas Avelus. Tachshite may mean perfume. It's very, very, very important that women should look nice and beautiful and good looking. Why? Kedei shelo yisganu al ba'aleihem. So they should not look bad in the eyes of the husbands. And that's a very big michshol nowadays. People think that because of tznius, then, women should not put makeup, not put perfume. It's shtuyot, and it's a terrible thing. And people say it, sometimes they think are perverted and have issues, and that's shtuyot. You see that it's a very good thing for women to look beautiful for her husband. I'm not talking about women who look like, made up like a Barbie doll and walk into the street like that. I'm talking about women who are beautiful for their husbands. That's an extremely important thing. Shtuyot, my daughter told me she would sometimes listen to this super fanatic phone line about extra chumras of tznius and nobody ever heard of. This woman is making it up. Kavet tzniut. It's a woman that makes up all kinds of super extra tznius halachos. So not to put perfume. Well, machloikes between Ezra Sofer and that lady. The kids, yeah. So as long as it's for the husband, it's an extremely important thing. Weiter. V'tiken tvila lebali kerian. Also made it a kono for people who had keri coming out. Yeah, they have the tumas keri. Reg the Gemara, is that an Ezra? Deoraiso. It's a Deoraisa. Dichtiv, ve'ish kiseitz mimenu shichva zera. If a man has sperm coming out, verochat says besoroi b'mayim, right? In other words, he has to wash his flesh, which means he has to go to the mik and have a dip because he had the shichva zera. So why are you telling me that Ezra was the one who made it a kono for people who are Baal Keri, people who had the shichva zera? Answers the Gemara. Deoraisa who letruma v'kodshim. Deoraisa means that if a person is tomeh, he cannot eat truma. Who's allowed to eat truma? Mitzvah to eat truma. The kohen, and also the kohen's eved. You know that the kohen's eved was mamish an eved knaini. An eved can eat truma, but that eved that eats truma, he if he has shichva zera or the kohen, not allowed to eat truma. They're tomeh. The kodshim, what about kodshim? Anybody can eat kodshim. Every Israel can eat kodshim kalim, meiser, whatever, Pesach, Toido, Shlomim. But if you have zera, you can't eat the kodshim. That's the Oraisa. Also, who came Ezra? Tiken afilu l'divrei Torah. So Ezra made it a kono for divrei Torah. A person in Takonos Ezra, a person is not allowed to say Divrei Torah, say Tefillah, even bracha before eating. He should only think in his mind Ad Kedei Kach, and not mention Divrei Torah as long as as long as he didn't dip after the Shichva Zera came out. Now we will learn a Tosfos, an entire Tosfos, Be'ezras Hashem. Osiyu v'tikan lefil divrei Torah. Yeah, the first Tosfos in the Pei Beis Amud Beis pub. Pei Beis Amud Beis. First Tosfos. Osiyu v'tikan lefil divrei Torah. I'm asking you a question. Halacha l'maaseh. Does a person who had zera coming out, either one way or the other, the mitzvah or beiser, does he really nowadays have to go to the mikveh, and otherwise he is not allowed to pronounce divrei Torah? Says Tosfos, lo kaimelan hochi. No, we don't follow that halacha l'maaseh, says Tosfos. Ela Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. We follow the opinion of the Tana, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, the Omar divrei Torah en mekablin Tumah. He says divrei Torah are too holy. They're not, in English it's called susceptible. They're not susceptible for Tumah. They're above the Tumah. Nowadays, people have the minhag, like the three elders, that even if they have Shichva Zera coming out, still they have to wash the Zera, by the way. You have to wash it off your body because that's like the tzoya. But you don't have to go to the mikveh. It's better. You're not mechuyev, and you can still learn in daven. I can Rabbi Yehuda, the heilige Getana Rabbi Yehuda, how can he cancel Takonos Ezra? Wasn't Ezra before the Tanoim? I think Ezra was from the Bible and Rabbi Yehuda from the Mishnah. How can he come many years later and cancel, so to speak, Takonos Ezra? Answers Tosfos, three different answers. How can a Tana cancel out, eliminate a Takono from Ezra, a Novi? Answer number one. The Din Masova, maybe Rabbi Yehuda thought, the Lotikin Ezra Dovozeh. Maybe he thought that Ezra never actually established it. Who said Ezra did it? The Tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda is a Tana. Just like we saw regarding Yehoshua ben Nun's Takonos, there's a machlokes whether 10 or 11. Here too, Rabbi Yehuda will tell you, I don't think Ezra ever said it. Wow. Inami, second answer. Hitna, Ezra himself made it nai. Shekol misharoy tzelavatel yivatel. Maybe Ezra's original takono was already on condition. Ezra's takono was, I'm taking the takono in condition that as long as you can do it, you can do it. But if a big chochem comes and mevatel, it can be mevatel. Inami, third answer. Loi poshat isur b'rov Yisrael. Since most Yiddish people, most obviously majority of Klal Yisrael did not accept it, they did not actually accept the takono, then the takono is not a takono. Takono depends on the rabbi who's metaken it and on the response of the tzibur. If the majority of the tzibur just don't do it, so it's not a takono. That's exactly. And goes himself tzibur, tzibur cannot take, and that is exactly the source. Kedamin and gabe shemen, oil. I told you a few times, and related to the Zohar, there was a tzad from Daniel's times, the times of Daniel. Have you heard of Daniel in the lion's den? Yeah, you read the book. So Daniel, he wanted to be metaken takana over oil of goyim, chasakev, pas akum, cholov akum, let alone yaines sechu. Yeah, so maybe shemen should also join the party, and you can't have shemen akum. So we say there, beperken mamidin. Yo, we don't say that. And if the Zohar Daf Lamed Vav, we say the magic line of Rabbi of Cherry Hill. Then Ed Gozim Zelet Tzibur, Elam Ken Yachol Amud Bo. If the Tzibur can't take it, you can't be goizer it. It's also true about chinuch with children. The Afal Gav the Mashma Hosom, even though there it's Mashma about the oil, the I Daniel Gozer Olov Lo Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya Yochel Levatloi Afal Pi Sheloi Poshat. Over there it sounds like that if Daniel would have been the source and not later on, but I think Chashmonoi had Daniel been established it, then Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't be able to cancel it, even though people didn't accept it. Daniel, what's the difference between Daniel and Ezra? By Ezra, you're telling me, people didn't accept it, so I can officially cancel it. We just can't take it anymore. If so, why was Rabbi Yehuda so wary and unable to cancel it with the oil had it been Daniel? Rabbi Yehuda managed to cancel the Gzera of Shemen because it was a later Gzera. But would have been from Daniel, that would be like too holy. What's the difference? Daniel and Ezra lived the same time. Why is Ezra Gzera up for grabs and up for cancellation? Well, Daniel is not. Had it been from Daniel, answers the Tosfos. We're in the first Tosfos. Because it states in the Posuk. If you learn the Posuk of Daniel, there's a question there about a Posuk in Daniel. Does it mean to forbid the Goyish Shemen? If that's the explanation, it's written in the Torah, in the Tanakh. A Posuk in the Tanakh, mister, you can't cancel that, even if you're as great as a Tana. The Kohen says, the Kohen says they're not written mefurish black and white in the Novi or in the Ksuvim, then we say it does not hold that amount, that level of power. It's not as powerful because it's not in the Torah, not written anywhere in the Tanakh, and therefore the Tekonos Ezra, because not written in the Tanakh, and mainly because it's not something people took. Most people couldn't take going to mikveh every day before they go to Shachris. If you're Hasidish, fine. Most people don't do that, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda already, Rabbi Sarah, officially canceled it. Frag Tosfos, 1 second, let me finish Tosfos. Frag Tosfos, v'ad dosh b'misha meisoi. Yeah, we learn in Perek Misha Meisoi, the third Perek of Brochus, is where this entire sugya of Tvilas Ezra appears. Frag Tosfos, it says, "Medichtiv odaita lebonecha." It says, "Odaita lebonecha." It says you have to teach your children just like you were standing on Mount Sinai. Just like by Har Sinai it says Mefurash, don't approach a woman for 3 days, because in Har Sinai everybody had to be clean from Baal Keri. So too, you're not allowed to teach Torah if you're Baal Keri or learn Torah. Oh, so it is written in the Torah. Why are you telling me the Tekonos Ezra of dipping when you had Zera before you teach or learn? It is written. Answer Tosfos, that's not written. Asmachtahi. It's not a real makor, it's an asmachta. It's a hint, it's an allusion in the Torah for din d'Rabbanan. Steht nicht in the Torah. It's an hekesh which we allege to the Tekonos Ezra. The Ezra Tikkun, it's the Ezra's Tekona. It's not from Moshe in Har Sinai, that's for sure. Since it's not written outright in the Torah, it's only hinted to in the Torah, and it's a Tekona that most people just couldn't take. For Fallon, it's not a Tekona anymore. Thank you for your patience. Let's just do a whole Tosfos, before we finish the parak. Correct Tosfos, V'adamar b'misha meiso. It says over there in Brochus, Gabei B'nayahu, V'tova gziz de barde v'nochas v'toval. Yeah, it says over there was a gibor of David, B'nayahu ben Yoyoda. What did he do? He went and he broke the ice, like we say about women in Eastern Europe. He broke the ice in order to do tvila. So you see, he's a Balkari, was Balkari, and he broke the ice to go to the mikveh. Very Hasidic. So you see, it's an old Takana from before Ezra. Before Ezra. David was before Ezra. This is David's friend. Answers Tosfos, lo l'divrei Torah. Da'akati Ezra lo hava. No, my friend. Bnei ben Yoyoda did not break the ice in order to go to mikveh because he wanted to learn. It was before Ezra. Ela lechol chulin b'tara. He was a big tzaddik, was a chaver. Chaverim would eat chulin b'tara. If you're a chaver, then even if your food is not truma, you're not a kohen, and it's not kochim, you're just having your nice breakfast in RBSA. But if you're a chaver, if you're a very frum person, even your chulin, you eat betara, you make sure everything is torn. You know that people are chaverim, were careful about meisters very much, and about tara. Those are two things that even though they don't eat midoraisa, we don't have to keep tara. But there was like a good takana, a chaver, whoever's a member of the club of the better people, would make sure not to eat anything but tumah. And that was the issue of who? Of Bnei ben Yehuda. But again, Ezra's Takana, again, let's summarize Tosfos. Ezra's Takana is a late Takana relatively for Tanakh. It's only by the times of Ezra. He was not accepted upon most Klal Yisrael, so eventually the Tanoim came and said, listen, let's just give in, and people don't take it, and therefore there's no chiyuv to have Takana Ezra around, and you can learn David and everything. Having said that, as we all know, a lot of people are makpid, and it's better to go to mikveh. The Mishnah Berurah also says it's definitely preferable to go to the mikveh after you're with your wife or whatever, an accident, whatever. So it is better to go to the mikveh and live betara, although it's not mandatory. Rabbi Reams, Boker Tova. Asara Dvorim, another list of 10. Another list of 10. We had 10 things of Yeshua, 10 things of Ezra. Do you mind if I say Chiddush over here? Yeah? A Torah insight. Can I share a Torah insight with you? Okay. We see some common denominator between all of Yeshua's takonas and a different common denominator between Ezra's takonas. Yeshua's takonas had to do with what? Yeshua's takonas have to do with being a good neighbor. Yeah? Giving your tree and your twig and somebody walks to your field, don't call the police on him, and he walks on the side, and he does toilet, whatever. Don't be such a miser. Why did Yeshua have to do that? Because they never owned fields. They knew about owning fields like we know about owning fields. So they came from the Midbar. So the Takana said to do with field ownership, with the becoming members, and they can get very possessive. All of a sudden, each one has his own field, his own nachla, and Yeshua was the one who gave them the nachla. Ezra had 3 problems. Ezra had 3 different problems that he had to deal with. First of all, a lot of people didn't make Aliyah. And a lot of Sforim from Rishonim to Achronim, from the Gemara, all the way to Rav Teichtal, was not Mazeda, the one who wrote them Abonim Smecha. Yeah, they write about how bad it was for those who didn't make Aliyah. With Ezra, they stayed there because of money. They stayed there because they thought the Eretz Yisrael was a Nebuchadnezzar place. Only 20 flavors of ice cream in the ice cream parlor. How can you live in such a place? Abject poverty. So then, Mimela, Ezra's people didn't come. There was intermarriage, right? And he stopped it. And there was also not keeping Shabbos. People back then would be Mechalel Shabbos. They would mamish press the wine and the oil press in Yehuda. So it's very interesting because when you look at Ezra, you see that the people who are Meratzim, so what was the Metakian? More Torah, right? Kriyas Torah and Kriyas Torah, and again, things to do with Torah. You also see it was Metakian Shabbos, have your clothes clean for Shabbos. And you also see, because he tried to avoid intermarriage, yeah, so he made sure the Jewish marriage is much better, right? You see things to do with like eating the garlic and the woman putting makeup and on the end Tvilas Ezra, all these things to make sure that the Jewish home looks nice and attractive for the Jewish men and women, because that's the way you want to avoid, intermarriage. You better offer them a better alternative. That's my shot over here. By the way, the reason why Ezra was metaken this Tvila, the Gemara says in Brochus that Ezra wanted people not to be too much with the wives. He says, Talmidei Chachamim, they learn Torah, shouldn't be all the time with the wives, like, every night, get on the goyim, like chicken. So if you have to go to the mikveh, you think twice before you approach your wife. In other words, it's good to have oina. Oina is very important, but not like 7 days a week. So Mimela, he made the mikveh thing. But today's canceled. Yeah. I saw Dvorim Neimu Yerushalayim. 10 things were said regarding Yerushalayim. Ein abayis cholut bo. Before I start, I'm going to tell you 2 things about Yerushalayim. First of all, it's a very holy city. No, sometimes I have to tell the chidushim, right? The way Yerushalayim looks today, it's a chiddush to call it holy. In any event, Yerushalayim was not divided by the different shvatim, right? But I'm glad that all of you support one opinion in Yuma Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. One opinion in Yuma Yud Beis Amud Aleph says that Yerushalayim was divided between Yud and Binyamin. And another opinion says it belonged to everybody. That we belong to everybody. It's called Yerushalayim DC. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody owns Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, Washington DC was owned by all 50 states, or not owned by any of the 50 states. Not owned by any. You have to ask Biden. Yeah. The Maisa, Yerushalayim, according to the opinion we're going to see now, was not the property of any one particular shevet. That's one. Okay. B, joking aside, Yerushalayim being holy, a lot of people would eat korbanos where? In Yerushalayim, only in Yerushalayim. Yeah. Truma was more common in Yerushalayim. So having those 2 things in mind, there was not owned by anybody in particular. And secondly, it was also home for a lot of korbanos eating and b'chulei, will understand Be'ezras Hashem all 10 takonos of Yerushalayim. 10 things were said about Yerushalayim. A house that you bought in Yerushalayim, even though Yerushalayim is surrounded by a wall, as we all know, A house bought in Yerushalayim does not become cholut, which means sold forever. Let me explain. We all know that Mirz Hashem when Mashiach will come, and in the past, when somebody sells a house in the land of Israel, and we will know in Mirz Hashem, each one of us, where does his nachla go? Where do we belong? Yeah. Hopefully we'll all stay in B'Shemesh. How could we manage without the Shiur? Yep. How could I manage without the Shiur? So then, better than you don't exist. So then, let's say you sell a house in Eretz Yisrael or a field, there are different halachos for a house in a field. Conceptually, when does it go back to the seller? Yovel, very good. Unless you redeemed it before. And the other person cannot say no. If I come, let's say it's a regular house, bate or another choma, bate or chatzerim. It's a house in the chotzer in a regular city in Tel Aviv, in a city that's not walled. They're not with a wall. I can come at any given moment, buy the apartment in Tel Aviv that I sold back from the Tel Aviv buyer, and live there happily ever after, even before the Yovel. There are many exceptions. One exception is a house in Orei Choimo, a house in, let's say, Akko or Tveria, assuming it's Mukaf Choimo, v'chule, Yafo, any time, place that's Mukaf Choimo from Yimosi Yoshua, that the rules are different. I'm allowed to redeem it within 1 year. Yeah, you better get your act together quickly, redeem it within 1 year, buy it back from the buyer. If not, if you didn't do it within 1 year, Shana Ibur, within 1 year, then what? It's his forever and ever. He can write on the house, I love my house forever and ever. No, that's all Chiddush. That's all Chiddush. No, forever and even surpasses Yovel, even overrides Trump's Yovel. That's a special thing about houses that are in walled city. Yeah. So then, yeah, the end of Ikra. Then what do we say? That's about most places Mukaf Choimo, Yerushalayim. Although it's Mukaf Choimo, that law does not apply there. If I sell a house in Yerushalayim, I can always buy it back, regardless before, after, or in the Yovel, I can always get it back, and it does not become cholut, does not become the buyer's forever. Why? We'll see later. Number 2, Yerushalayim does not bring Egel Arufa. Let's say somebody was found murdered, close to Yerushalayim, outside Yerushalayim, but the closest city to the victim's body is where is Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim does not bring Egel Arufa. The elders of Yerushalayim don't wash their hands. We don't target Yerushalayim as a city where we think the Rutzech, the murderer, came from. Why? We'll see soon. Then number 3, in Yerushalayim, 2 adult men came from the city and convinced everybody for J, I don't know, for Vedezoro, Hari Kishkes, and most of the people of Yerushalayim, they worship Harry K. Maybe the Knesset is probably very much behind it. The government, they probably they also promote it. Yeah. So do we say Yerushalayim Zir Nidachas, and you have to kill all the Oivdim with a cher, with a sword, and burn all their property? No. Even if most of Yerushalayim are over the Zara, with all the conditions, Yerushalayim does not become a Nidachas. And I'll tell you something else. This is not a complete list. The other lists in the, I think in the Yerushalmi, Tosefta I saw, and they say there's no Ben Sover Umoira either. Let's say Yerushalayim kid gets very naughty, and right after the Bar Mitzvah, the first 3 months, he starts stealing Italian wine and tartamar basar, meat, like that, and he eats it with his bummy friends, off the derech friends. Then what? Then if he's in Yerushalayim, he's lucky enough, you don't do anything to him. Everything is for the same reason. Let's say a house in Yerushalayim seems to fit the description of a tsaras, and the coin came and whoops, it looks like tsaras, not so it's kibbutz. A tsaras in Yerushalayim house, the house in Yerushalayim does not, the tsaras doesn't affect it. You don't have to do anything about this house, not to take out the stone, not to destroy it, garnish. I mean, maybe spray it, I don't know, but nothing else. The ein motzin, now that was the first group of things. That was the first group of takonas. Now comes the second one. The ein motzin bazizin v'gzuztois. One is allowed if you're an architect in Yerushalayim, you're not allowed to have any protrusions sticking out of a Yerushalayim building or any gzuzta, any mirpeset. All the mirpasot in Yerushalayim are illegal. Close them. Yeah. Don't tell my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my son, my daughter, my family in Yerushalayim. Not allowed to have a mirpeset in Yerushalayim. Everything will be explained. Don't worry. Then oisin ba ashpotois, and you're not allowed to have garbage dumps in Yerushalayim. Yeah, can't have it sfardea. Can't have a pile of garbage in Yerushalayim. Then oisin ba kivshoinois. You're not allowed to have a furnace for to make pots. That furnace is also. Then oisin ba ganus vipadesos. You're not allowed to have gardens and orchards. You're not allowed to have them over there. Chutz, except beginners of Rodin, except for the garden of roses. Shomi most Nevi'im Arishonim. They were there already from the times of Nevi'im Arishonim. Apparently, rose is Kippas Hayarden. Kippas Hayarden is one of the ingredients of the Ktores. Kippas Hayarden is rose because roses grow a lot by the Jordan River. It's called Kippas Hayarden. The En Megadlin Batanegoylin. If you want to breed a chicken or rooster, choose different place, not Yerushalayim. You can't breed roosters in Yerushalayim. Everything will be explained. Then Melinim Ba'isameis, full stop. You're not allowed to also, that's the get today. That's the get today. You're not allowed to have the dead person, the dead body, the nifter, lying there overnight, as some people very much believe in today, that in Yerushalayim, you don't let the mace stay overnight more than in other places. Okay, let's start. Let's go. Number one. Why is it that if I sold the house in Yerushalayim, it does not, and I did not redeem it within a year, which I should have, like other world cities, why do we say that it stays the buyer? It does not stay the buyer's forever. In other places, you miss the 12 months, and that's it. Deadline, it stays his forever, unless it'll be very nice and sell it back to you, the buyer. In Yerushalayim, I can always retrieve it and he can buy it back for me, but like it's never owned completely. That's the word. It's never owned completely by the buyer. Why? It says about the bought house that cannot be redeemed anymore. And that's called chalut. Lechlot with a test is like to fixate, to fix, like to cover, no, to be cover, to fix up, to set in stone. No, to have it set in stone forever. Yeah, set in stone. The end. The Kama bais shaloi choimo letzmisus. The bais surrounded by the wall should be letzmitut is also modern Hebrew means forever. Should his be forever? La koine oisoy, to the one who bought it, to Mr. Buyer, client. La the oisov for generations on. The kasova, our Tana thinks, unlike you people, lo nischal Yerushalayim l'shvotim. Because Yerushalayim was not designated, was not given to shvotim, and therefore, since no shevet can tell which one, this is my area, this is yours, there's no real ownership over houses in Yerushalayim. Nobody really owns Yerushalayim. Whoever bought a house in Yerushalayim, it's like a temporary thing. So he's telling me, you bought it, fine, forever. There's no mine forever in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is everybody's. You don't have specific ownership in your house in Yerushalayim. Everything's temporary over there. There's no owning anywhere in Yerushalayim, and therefore you can't say, I own it forever. You're going to tell me, so why is the first guy buying it from him? And you want to buy it back from me, Mr. Buyer, offer better deal. You can go as a ping pong forever, but there's no din that it stays by someone forever and ever as a super ultra owner, and that's his for generations to come, because Yerushalayim doesn't work like that, because Yerushalayim was not given to Shvatim, which means that the entire ownership, even of individuals, is actually sort of lower. The ownership is never really there. By the way, there are many other takonos which I'm not even, I'll tell you some. I told you Ben Sarah. I'll tell you another one. Let's say you want to rent your house in Yerushalayim. Ooh, that's like renting your house in Uman in Rosh Hashanah. You get a lot of money. You know, I'm not into that, but I've heard stories, yeah? Go to Uman any time of year. But say there, you go to Rosh Hashanah, it's literally, I have a friend who's very for Brenda Breslover, it's literally 100 times the price. I'm not, like, from a few grivna, it becomes like thousands, the real fancy, nice ones. In Rosh Hashanah, I wonder why. So then in Yerushalayim, when people come to Sholosh Regalim, I have a house in Yerushalayim, that's cool. Says the halacha, at least according to some opinions, you're not allowed to rent it out for money. You're supposed to let people stay by you for free, because I own a house in Yerushalayim, doesn't stim. It says that the guests would leave them behind the oros kochim. They would leave them like a nice, gift. Like, you stay by someone, you leave a gift behind. So then they would leave them the the skins, the hides of the korbanos. Next time you have a friend sleeping over by you, yeah, he'll give you a piece of skin of an animal. Your wife would be delighted, right? The skin of a dead cow. Nice. So Bekitza, that was a matana, but they were not allowed to rent it out. Yes, sir. 1 second. I think your friend was first. The reason was Ben Saramora, when Saramora says, Shar Iroi and Zkena Iroi, the people of his town, the elderly of his town should deal with him by his town. There's no his town. Yeah. Ben Saramora and his family don't live. This is my city. It's not your city. It's Hashem's city. It's everyone's city. Yes. Right? Before we continue, I want to make 2 points here. First of all, of course, we only talk about the Heilige Yerushalayim within the walls. Yeah, we're not talking outside. It's not like Mikra Megillah, Samach Vanire. We're not talking about Harnof or Arnona or Amon and Netziv or Givat Shaul. We're talking here about within the walls. Secondly, most of these rules don't apply today anyways. There's no Glarufa, there's no Tumah-free. Do the rules apply? Those rules that may apply, such as don't have a mirpeset because of Tumah, or let's say to let the mace stay. So machlokes achronim. There's machlokes achronim whether some of this applies today or not. And as we all know, many Yerushalmi people are makpid not to leave the mace overnight in Yerushalayim. And Melinis and Mace Yerushalayim is, in most cases, people are makpid on that, and that applies till today. May we live till 120. Okay? Weiter. Then megadlin bat on the goylim. Yeah? Then megadlin bat on the goylim. You're not allowed to have a chicken over there. Why is that? Because, interesting word doesn't. No. Sorry, I skipped. En ve'egla rufa. Yeah. Ven ve'egla rufa. Yeah. En ve'egla rufa. Why? Line starts with the word egla. Why don't we bring egla rufa if Yerushalayim is the closest place to the dead body? Bring an egla rufa there. Protects you because it's Yerushalayim. Maybe the murderer came from Yerushalayim. There were murder cases in Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. It says, the same reason as we said before. If you find a dead body, a corpse, in the land, Hashem gives you the land to inherit. Because Yerushalayim was not divided to Shvatim, it's not called your Nachlo. Yerushalayim is not our Nachlo. It's everyone's Nachlo. It's not your Nachlo. Next one. It does not become your nidachas, even if everyone did avodah zarah there, most of them. It says in the pasuk, "Kitishma be'achas orecho." If you heard in one of your cities that horrific thing happened, yeah, that atrocity, so many people doing avodah zarah, your city. That's not your city. Yerushalayim lo nischal kol shvatim. Yerushalayim was not divided to shvatim. So that's the first series of halachos. Now comes the second one. No, not true. No. Comes another halacha that's also a derivative of the same thing. A house in Yerushalayim full of tzaras. Definitely green, red, whatever you want, it's there. Looks like a Palestinian flag, red, green, tzaras, negoim. Why not? I'll place a negat tzaras where? In the land of your achuzah, your inheritance, now we're done with the first group. Now, next one, one is not allowed to build all kinds of protrusions, zizin, a mirpeset that sticks out, like a balcony that sticks out into the street, overhanging, over the heads of everybody, and people are walking underneath. That's not allowed. Havus, mipnei oila tuma. You never know. Maybe there's a small piece of dead body somewhere under the marpetzet, and you walk under the marpetzet also. Oila tuma. You become tuma without realizing. Yeah, the more you have stuff, overhanging on your head, the worse it is for koyanim. Right? Koyanim near a cemetery, you have to be careful. Maybe there's even electricity lines and trees. You have to be aware. When you go in Bar Ilan, you know that. In Bar Ilan, near the cemetery, there may be trees or stuff there. The Kohen automatically looks up to see what's going on. So because of a potential Ola Tuma, therefore, just don't be a mirpeset over there. Where would you have your sukkah? Underneath, in the street. Na umishum de lo litzeku oile regolim. And also, in order that, oile regolim, Yerushalayim was definitely much more dense than other places. It was full of oile regolim in the regel. And people, I think it means to say, I didn't see an explanation, they should not be harmed because maybe it's just bump against your pesach. Back then, the houses were not, shamgar. It wasn't like a 10-story house. The houses were smaller, and the merpeset was smaller, and the protrusions were more street level. The people may bump their head. They're visitors. They don't know, and they bump their heads. I remember in Tel Aviv, there was a building with like things sticking out of the building. It was right by a corner, and my friend and I, we walked quickly, and my friend bumped his head against the thing. And then I was told it happened to many children. So it's not safe to have the protrusion into the street in a place. I guess Tel Aviv is not so children friendly. I don't know why. So, as long as it doesn't hit the dog. The next one is, I'm being slow because I think some of the things are not explained. After we finish we get to the 2 dots, go over the 10 again. We'll go up and look at all of them again. Then why aren't you allowed to have a rubbish dump in Yerushalayim? Mishum shkotzim. Because as we know, mice, all kinds of rodents, mice and weasels, they like to go where? To the garbage, and they may die. Maybe eat something really rotten, it's going to die. And you're basically perpetuating the existence of dead shkotzim in Yerushalayim. That's not good. Why? Because again, shkotzim or mosim, those that are rodents are metameh. A kohen may touch them. Anybody in Yerushalayim has to touch them. Basically, Yerushalayim has to be Tumah-free zone. Tumah-free zone. You can't have shkotzim or mosim and the overhanging thing. Maybe you'll be, under the same roof with the dead part of a dead body. Then oisin ba kivshoynois, mishum kutra. You're not allowed to have kivshoynois, which is the furnace where you create the pot. Then kutra, that creates what? Bad smelling, smoke. Kutra is smoke, like Taurus, lavdil. The Taurus says smoke, Laktir, mikter, it's mikter? The pipe. Mishum kutra, In other words, that it just doesn't smell nice. We want Yerushalayim to look good and smell good. It has to be a good-looking city. Then oisin ba ganus upardesim. Why not to have a ganus upardesim? That's nice to have a tomato patch over there or an orchard. Mishum sircha, because you have all kinds of smelly things there. Either you have bad weeds that grow there, and then people eventually pull them out and throw them to the street, zevel, and also because you have the zevel there, you have the manure, the fertilizer, which whenever you pass by a kibbutz, it's a kibbutz, the real manure doesn't smell nice. So we don't want either tumah or bad smelling things to be in our holy city. Then megadlin ba tarnagoylin. You're not allowed to breed tarnagoylin, roosters and their family, the chicken, the whatever. Says the other sources I saw, also ducks. You're fantasizing, I'll have a duck in Yerushalayim. No. Even a duck you can't have. No, not a chicken and not a duck. You're allowed to eat them, but you can't actually breed them over there. Why? Mishum kodshim. What does kodshim have to do with anything? The tarnagolim, they like to pick in the garbage. So you have your small garbage, not a big garbage dump you're not allowed to have. But the small garbage you have, the recyclable one, and the chicken likes to pick over there, and he takes a piece of dead sherets, or even kills the sherets. I got you, and then he takes the sherets home. So nice. He takes the dead rodent home. So besides the fact that the wife would faint, also it's a big problem of tumah. He brings tumah. The kohen, even Israel in Yerushalayim, they eat kochim all the time. 1 second. So can't I have a chicken in Yerushalayim? And if I want to eat one, say one of the misfortune that I saw, that we're talking here about breeding them, and they just walk down the street, like a rooster walking down the street. It does whatever he wants. Free range. That he can do. You're allowed to have them as long as they're cooped in the chicken coop. In the chicken coop is fine. In the lul, shelter negolim, that's okay, because you maintain their hygiene. You make sure to give them one nice first-class food. They don't go to the garbage. They don't pick the dead mice, and that's okay, as long as you keep it in your house. And we bring a proof from Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech had barburim avrusim, Shlomo Melech had ducks, and he had even swans and ducks. Fancy food. Duck is a very tasty thing. By me. So Mimela, that those things, Shlomo used to breed them in one particular area, the royal zoo, I don't know, aviary. So that's fine. But to just have them walk around the street and eat whatever they want and schlep one from the other. Do you mind one more and then I'll be with you? One last one and then I'll listen to your question. The ain melinin ba is a mace. Why can't you let the mace stay in Yerushalayim overnight? Gemara, what's Gemara? Look at Rashi. Gemara, Rashi is a few lines above where we are. It's a tradition that we have, and there's no reason, says Rashi, why you don't have the mace staying overnight in Jerusalem. I'm sorry about that. The mace doesn't smell overnight. I don't know. Maybe. Lamaisa, you was first. I'll be with you in a second. 2 points, and then I promise I'll listen to your questions. Point number one, frek the shita. Shita Mekubetzes, and if you live in Oshkosh, are you allowed to leave the mace overnight? No. Today in Chutzatz, as we all know, they give you a hard time because of autopsy and this and that and bureaucracy and the C excuse, Corona, that's the archaea excuse. So they make people stay in the freezer for I don't know how long, right? In many countries. But Meikar Adin, the Misaskim, they make sure to bring him to burial as soon as possible. So I say Yerushalayim and Melinin Sames. You're not allowed to be Melinin Sames in Yellowknife, either, I don't know where, in Bogota. You can't have the mace lying there also overnight stuff. Answer, a simple answer, says the Shita. In other places, I said too, there are really three reasons here. There are really three main reasons for all 10 takonas. Yerushalayim not being everybody's. It's not a takon, it's a reality. Yerushalayim being everyone's and therefore no one's. Secondly, tumah-free. Thirdly, hygiene. To keep it nice and good smelling and not zevel and not smell and not this. There are really three reasons. Yerushalayim has to be owned by everybody, has to be tor, and has to be beautiful. So the Maisa don't mix and match. In other words, the Tarnagolim, of course, there are other hygiene reasons, but the main reason is Tumah. It's that override. That's more of a reason, because if a Kohen eats Truma and Israel eats his, you finally made it to Yerushalayim to eat your korban, and some stupid chicken came to your backyard where you're eating your korban and brings the sherets, and that's it. The party's over. Oy vey. Right? It's worse than just the hygiene reason, although that's also a reason, but that's the main one. Yes, Yaakov? You good? No, okay. Another nakuda which I want to share with you is about melinin and mace. When do you let the mace stay overnight for COVID? And then in other places you may lean more. In other words, if you live in Santiago, Chile, and it's a big rov, and there's somebody very choshuv, or his children have to come from somewhere, then you let him stay overnight. And Yerushalayim, some people hold it's so choshuv to bury the mace that night that you don't even wait for a bigger levaya. It's always the question, right? To bury quickly or to wait for more people. We all know about that, right? So in Yerushalayim, the factor of get on with it and bury quickly is stronger, much stronger than the factor of cover the mace and having, I don't know, more people in the levaya. May we all know simchas. So did we cover all? Let's go back now to the takonis quickly. I'm going back. Asad Ramnem will be Yerushalayim, the beginning of the page, just to make sure we know everything. The first four halachos don't apply to Yerushalayim and also Ben Salomore because Yerushalayim is not owned by anybody in particular. The house is not yours. It's not your Tumah house. Yeah, it's not your city. Second group, Tumah Vetara. And within Baziz and Guztros don't have stuff hanging over. And also in Bashposos, again, Ashposos maybe not clean, or also Tumah of a sheretz that's there and is going to die there. It doesn't smell nice, the furnace. Why? Again, because the Ganus Superdesos, they breed bad smell or bad weeds. And the Tornagolim bring Tumah to your house, Chalila. Belin by Sameis is exera, sort of exera, not to let the mace stay overnight. I did see a reason not to leave the Mesa in Yerushalayim because Yerushalayim is holier. That's the way I understood. Maybe I misunderstood. It was in Aramaic, but I think I got it. Basically, Yerushalayim it's a bizoyan for a mace to stay overnight. You know why? Because the Zohar explains, as Zohar quoted, that the person's body is very holy because it was a hotel for a very, very high neshama. So now for the body to be there without the neshama is like kind of weird. What am I doing here? It's a bizoyan. You have to bury him quickly because he's without the neshama, the heilige neshama. It's like a little kid staying alone without his daddy. Where's my father? Where is it? So in Yerushalayim, it's even worse. The bizoyan in a holy city is worse than a bizoyan in a different place. Weiter. Okay, he was okay. And then we continue. Yeah. History time. Ein megadlin chazirim b'chol mokoim. That's a quote from our Mishnah. By the way, the Mishnah spoke about not breeding chicken in Yerushalayim and don't have a chazir anywhere. Nice Jewish boy can't have a chazir wherever you are. Even if you live in wherever you live in Cape Town, can't have a chazir wherever you are, not just Yerushalayim. Why is that? Why can't I have my piggy pig? That's the next pet. Don Rabbanon, the goyim raised pigs as pets? As pets, not as a farm. Yeah, in a house. Don Rabbanon, okay, fine. Now I know America has deteriorated. Don Rabbanon, like that's the worst. Don Rabbanon. First white line. There was once a war between two Chashmonai kings or would-be kings. Horkanus and Aristobulus were both brothers from Beis Chashmonai. As we all know, the story of Hanukkah is Baruch Hashem, beautiful and very nice, but it's not really a happy ending, right? Afterwards, the Chashmonaim overstayed their welcome. They were Megayer people en masse, how fashionable. And they had their own interior fights, and they're not supposed to be kings at all because they were not from Yehuda. They were from Chashmonai. They were from Levi, Kohanim, and they were Melachim, which were not the cream of the crop of the Jewish nation at some point. And two brothers were Horkanus and Aristobulus, and they had a major fight between them. I mean, a war, yeah, not just a nice white collar argument. There was a siege, and one Chashmonai king besieged the other, as we're going to see right now. Horkanus and his people were in Yerushalayim, and Aristobulus, maybe he was the king. Aristobulus, the brother, wanted to usurp him. He was outside trying to, making a siege around Yerushalayim. But Yerushalayim, meanwhile, somehow they maintained an okay lifestyle. And Aristobulus was outside. The problem was that they got the goyim involved. Aristobulus, in his attempt to become melech and conquer Yerushalayim, he asked for the help of our good friends, in inverted commas, the Romans. Oh, nice. He had the Romans coming and helping him to conquer Yerushalayim from Horkanus. So right now, what was the situation? Every day, the people from the inside kept the korbanos going. It was Bais Sheni, obviously towards the end of Bais Sheni. And what did they do then? They were Mishal Shel Bekupa. They, like the Shalshal in the tzedakah box, they gave them money. The inside people had enough money, and they took it out like with a rope to the outside of the choma. In other words, the people from the inside would provide the people in the outside world. The outside people had the kvosim. They had sheep for korbanos. Inside, we have money, but don't have sheep growing in Yerushalayim. How many sheep can we have in Yerushalayim? Besides Xeris Chazal, that's another different question. But the sheep are outside. So they had some kind of normalcy between the two sides. They managed some kind of status quo that the inside people who wanted to bring korbanos would get the money, like with this pulley, how's it called? Like a thing, rope going up and then down. The money would come outside. And then from the outside, they would bring them to Tmidim for the daily korbanos. So nice. Some kind of normalcy within the war. Here starts the bitter end. There was an elderly person, a Jewish elderly man, but here Zoken, I don't think is Zekon Chochma, was an old man, a Jewish man who was in the inside, and he was a traitor. And he knew very, Chochma Sivonis, according to the Meforshim that I saw, is a very refined kind of Greek. Like you have the Queen's English, you have the King's Greek. He spoke very fine, refined Greek that only the gentry, only the high class people, the academia, they knew that kind of Greek. And that Jewish guy, he had his PhD in super fancy Greek. Amar Lahem, and he was obviously also surprisingly, after learning all the Chokhmah, was also influenced by their Chokhmah, and he was already more advanced and patuach. Amar Lahem, he told the people of the outside, he sent them a message to the outside people, Kozman she'oskin ba'avoida, enim son b'yedchem. You should know, as long as those people in the inside, my fellow brothers, as long as he was probably Misyavin anyways, as long as they are busy and they are doing the avodah of the mikdash, they will never succumb to you, and Hashem will never give them over to you. In other words, that's a secret. You know why you guys are not managing to conquer Yerushalayim? They have a spiritual secret ingredient called the korbanos, and you guys are frayerim, stupid. You are bringing them the korbanos that are giving them the spiritual force to stay inside, yeah? And that's what does it to you. Mamish a traitor, lamochor. So what did they do the following day? Shil shiludinon bekupa. The inside people, business as usual, they would actually take the money in the pushka and bring it up, hoping to get the 2 sheep. Boom. Instead of a sheep, they brought him chazir. They knew very well what chazir represents for the Jewish mind, and they brought chazir they brought him up, going up the choyma of Yerushalayim. Once the chazir approached the middle of the middle level, halfway through the choyma, the wall of Yerushalayim, not tzipornav b'choyma, he sort of stuck his claws, yeah? Hooves. Okay. Bekitzer, fine, thank you. Is tzipornaim? No, I meant something. In the choyma, in the wall, he stuck his feet in the wall, because says Rashi, that's what chazirim do when they're being schlepped. Misken chazir. He was schlepped up against his will. He didn't want that, so he scratched against the wall like a dog. He scratched on the wall. At that point, the Kodesh Baruch Hu just couldn't take it anymore. Yesh gevul. When Nizdaz Eretz Yisrael was shaken like an earthquake. Eretz Yisrael was shaken. Abamos Pasa, 400 parsa, over 400 parsa. That's a big distance, yeah. At that moment, Chachamim said, "Hey, look what happened over here. Look at the scandal, the mechdal, the scandal." So what did they do? So a person who breeds chazirim should be cursed. And people who teach their children the Greek philosophy and the Greek, choshev language of the gentry, the deep Greek chokhmah, should also be cursed. Yeah. And I have much more to say, which we'll probably say tomorrow. No, let's just finish. And regarding this time, we'll learn the Mishnah. There is a Mishnah in Menachos that says the one time you preferably bring the Omer and the Shtei Alechem, the first barley of the year, the Pesach, and the first wheat, Shtei Alechem. Where do you bring it from? From which field? Where? From Judah? No, from the Yerushalayim. But that year, they destroyed all the fields in Yerushalayim. Part of that war, they realized, the outside people, the Romans and their friends, that the inside people, the first they have to hit is the spiritual center, Beis HaMikdash, are not providing them with what they need. So they burnt the fields or destroyed the fields around Yerushalayim, so people should not be able to bring the Omer and the Shtei Alechem, the first wheat and the first barley, from there. So what did they do? They didn't give up. They brought the Omer from Ganus Tzrifin, far away from Yerushalayim, somewhere, I don't know where. Yeah? The Shtei Alechem from Bikat Ein Socher. It's Socher, not Sukar. Yeah? From a place called Ein Socher, the place of the dam, D-I-M. Yeah, maybe by the Jordan. They brought the Shtei Alechem from far away, because with the Eved, if you don't find it from nearby, you bring it from far away. I'll quickly summarize Tosfos without looking inside. Why? It says Tosfos, you're not allowed to breed the chazir. Are you allowed to breed, to sell stamped tray for things? Let's say it's not chazir. So a guy would say, a cynic would read this and would say, I'm not going to breed chazir, I'm going to breed shrimps. Octopuses, very tasty, I've heard. An octopus, I never tried. So says Tosfos, that's wrong. Because Lamais, it says Mefurish in a few places, You're not allowed to do any schoira with any treif animals. Not allowed to. Yeah, even in the goyish place, the chatchila not, because you may sell to a Jew and this and that. You may eat it yourself. Not a job for a nice Jewish boy to own a store of treifas, even if chazer is not in the menu. Says Tosfos, and a chanam, it's only for food. A chazer you can't breed b'chlal. Other animals, says Tosfos, you're allowed to sell horses, you're allowed to sell donkeys. Maybe somebody will eat it. Don't bomb it. Some people eat horses' meat. Yeah? Or I don't know what, monkeys. Maybe somebody will eat a monkey, like they do in Singapore. They eat the monkey's brains. So maybe that's nice. No. So I'm allowed to breed a monkey, says Tosfos, like for a schoik, or for sell it for anything that's not for eating, for consumption reasons, that's allowed. A chazir is a no-no. You just can't breed the chazir for whichever reason. Even if you know your client is not going to eat it, is vegetarian, he's just going to play with it, you can't breed the chazir whatsoever. Other tumah animals, depends on the purpose. And if the purpose just for, you sell it for as a working animal, as a pet, you're allowed to have a pet shop with tumah animals, with lizards, then nobody's going to eat them. And therefore, that's okay. Yes, Shiur is officially over. Tomorrow is what? Wednesday. Then Thursday. Mirz Hashem. Tomorrow we're going to finish the parak maybe. And Rabbi Berman will start with you the new parak. Thank you, Bezel Hashem.